Should the President of the United States of America be allowed to have a crypto meme coin? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So we're going to watch a segment on President Trump's private party that he held for his meme coin. Let's check it out together.
This private secret dinner in which individuals who have put money in Donald Trump's pocket get access to him is maybe the most corrupt of all of the corruption.
Donald Trump's dinner is an orgy of corruption.
Democratic lawmakers using some colorful language to describe President Trump's private black tie dinner last night for the top investors in his cryptocurrency meme coin. One of those investors, a Chinese-born crypto entrepreneur, posted this video giving us an inside look at the exclusive event. CNN has learned that the 220 wealthy guests dined on filet mignon and halibut, and that the president gave a 20-minute speech. Here's a bit of that.
I know we paved the way for the strategic reserve to acquire even more Bitcoin in the years ahead. We have a strategic reserve. I also created the United States digital asset stockpile so the government can leverage the power of crypto assets for the first time ever. You know that. Genius. And it's really becoming powerful.
The White House says the president attended the event in his personal capacity. But critics, like our next guest, says the dinner presented foreigners with the opportunity to purchase access to the president. With us now is Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. Senator, thanks so much for being with us. I want to play for you some sound from the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, specifically talking about Trump's presence at this dinner. Let's listen.
When it comes to video creation, every detail matters. I go to artlist.io for music that matches my.
The president is attending it in his personal time. It is not a White House dinner. It's not taking place here at the White House.
Senator, should the U.S. president be allowed to partake in a function like this during personal time?
You know, the function reflects the scam. And the scam is that this access to the president, because he was president, not because he's Donald Trump, the private citizen, is the result of his office. And in effect, he's putting a for sale sign on the White House. He is, in effect, saying to the investors in his crypto meme coin that they can gain access to him and he will know who they are if they have, for example, investigations underway, as the top investor has, Justin Sun. He has a case before the SEC. And remember that the meme coin has no value in it's tied to any specific asset. Its function is simply a speculative item, and it is the result of speculation in being tied to the president and the access that has been sold here. So it is really the height of scams, unprecedented and unconscionable, selling the office in effect, and the functions just reflects that kind of scam. It is truly putting this president on a Mount Rushmore of corruption.
This is a senator, and he just said with this meme coin, it puts President Donald Trump at the top of the mountain of corruption. I just like to point that out because oftentimes, if you are a crypto investor or you're anybody that knows about crypto, oftentimes these meme coins that really don't hold value, they turn out to be scams in the sense of a lot of the everyday people get burned. A lot of times with these meme coins, what you'll see a price spike up and then a heavy rug pull. And that is why a lot of people think of crypto meme coins as scams. Can you make money off of it? It all depends on the volatility of it and when you invest. But with this being a president that has his own meme coin. As he said, it gives people access to invest in the president. And I don't know if that's something that you want the president of the United States to have. Because if I invest in it, I'm saying that I support the president, right? But then if I get caught in the rug pull and I lose thousands of dollars, like, hey, I was trying to support you, Mr. President. But that's what happens with these meme coins. But let's keep going with the segment.
We should note that case that you mentioned was put on hold in February. I'm curious about the substance of what some of the attendees shared with reporters. They argue that this venture is part of an effort to modernize the economy and to embrace financial innovation in a way that the previous administration didn't. I wonder how you respond to that and whether you have any evidence that the attendees actually had private time with the president to lobby for any kind of change with regulation in regard to cryptocurrency.
You know, let's be realistic. They may not have had time last night to lobby with him, but he can look around the room and there's a record of who attended. He knows full well how much they've invested. And by the way, there was a leaderboard, a competition, and a contest for who was going to invest the most. And the one who invested the most was actually Justin Sun. You spoke earlier about his SEC case. It was paused and negotiations begun to settle it shortly after he began investing in this meme coin. So the president doesn't have to talk to anybody in that room for him to know who is putting money in his pocket. And let's be very clear, the sole function of this meme coin is to put money into his pocket, funnel cash to his family. It is the most blatant, outright misuse of office in the nation's history.
Senator, I also want to ask you about the situation with Harvard, this legal fight, and a judge temporarily blocking the administration's efforts to ban international students enrolling in the university. The administration says that this is an effort to root out pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic activity on campus. It does come at a time when we are seeing Jewish people get murdered on the street for their beliefs in this country. I wonder what you make of the administration's efforts to address anti-Semitism.
Harvard is making an effort to address anti-Semitism. It has taken steps to stop the harassment of students on campus and to end any kind of terrorist activity that could in any way be interpreted as supported by Harvard. But, you know, the irony here is that the administration is saying Harvard is coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party. And yet at that dinner last night, a number of the meme coin buyers were actually from China. You can bet they have a connection to the Chinese government. And the problem with that meme coin dinner is that it makes him beholden to foreign interests in a way that the Emoluments Clause sought to prevent. That's why I went to the floor of the Senate and asked that we have a vote on all of these payments, the plane, the meme coin, and others, and that we have a list of who was at that dinner. It's undisclosed. We know nothing about who was there. And Harvard is standing up to this administration in its slide toward a surveillance state. The demands it is making are purely retaliatory, and they're a violation of the First Amendment, which is why a court today put a temporary restraining order on the administration's demands from Harvard and its ending of the visa program that enables students, international students, to attend Harvard. It's a blatant violation of law, unconscionable and unprecedented, an intrusion on academic freedom, because what the administration wants to do is tell Harvard what to teach, who should teach, and who should be students there. And that is a violation of academic freedom, but the First Amendment, because it's based on viewpoints, not on terrorist activity or coordination with the Chinese Communist Party.
And here's another thing I like to point out. This administration, this Trump administration, has no problem with breaking the rules. They often set things in motion and then have to be checked by the Supreme Courts. And I'm like, why? These are members of Congress who know the rules. The Trump administration, Trump might not, he probably just tried to do whatever he wants to do, clearly. But the members of Congress that he is, dragging along with him, they know the rules. So why does it have to be that the courts have to go and double check and triple check what it is our president is trying to do to see if it's against the law? That doesn't make sense to me. But we know Trump will try to grab whatever, so it's no surprise that he wants to control Harvard and what's being taught and all these type of things. He will keep trying to reach until someone tells him no. That's President Trump for you.
Senator Richard Blumenthal, we have to leave the conversation there. Very much appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Our panel is back with us now, and we want to talk more about Trump's meme coin dinner last night. Toulouse, initially when this invitation went out, there was an indication that some of the top spenders on this meme coin were going to get a private tour of the White House. That was since scrapped after it was reported on. We don't know exactly where this private tour is going to take place yet, do we?
We don't know, but we do know that a lot of the top spenders are people from foreign countries, and this is a new way for them to donate to our political system, to donate to the person in power in the White House. Foreigners are not allowed to do political donations because of legal restrictions. This is a new avenue that Trump has opened up, and we saw a number of foreign officials, a number of foreign business people took advantage of that, and they realized that not only will they be able to attend this dinner, but they will be able to have this private period, the smaller group where they could lobby the president. A lot of them publicly said that they were going to be lobbying the president. So that is a big concern that we heard from the senator and that we're hearing from Democrats as well.
I like how he simply put things in layman's terms. So this meme coin is a way for foreigners to basically support the president and his presidency. Typically that wasn't allowed, but now, we have cryptocurrency, and this is a way for him to get those supporters to, support regardless of what country you're in. And that kind of can be dangerous. If your biggest supporter financially is foreigners, who really can sway what we do in the country? Money often comes with power.
Sochi, on the idea that the senator and some of his colleagues are going to investigate this dinner, it's going to be tough really to point to something that was blatantly illegal, won't it?
Well, I think that you're right. But I think the hard part about all of this and what Trump and the administration understand is, while they say he was in his personal capacity, you're never in your personal capacity when you're president of the United States. There is no personal capacity. So I agree, it's going to be very difficult for Congress, especially a House and a Senate that Democrats don't necessarily run right now, for them to investigate and for there to be consequences. And that's the problem with all of these things, is that Trump feels that he can do whatever he wants because Democrats don't have control of the House or the Senate. They can try to call people up to the Hill, they can try to investigate this, but what kind of authority do they really have? And that's the problem. In addition, the Supreme Court said back last year that essentially Donald Trump couldn't be prosecuted, right? And so they gave him sort of an open door to do whatever he wants. And so I think this has led to things like this, the corruption, potentially taking foreign money, and benefiting off of all of this.
It kind of makes you want to start a meme coin, doesn't it, Doug?
I don't think mine would do as well. But look, I think one can think that crypto is innovative and good and support Trump administration policy on crypto, while also thinking this is a terrible idea. And what we've seen with Donald Trump is everything that he wants to do it bigger and better than anybody else. Corruption as well. When I first started in campaigns in politics, I remember we were talking about Bill Clinton in the Lincoln bedroom.
And then a few years later, we learned that even presidents have private lives, private capacities. And so what we've seen is then, obviously Hunter Biden's terrible artwork is going to donors. Donors have all kinds of access. This is a new way of doing it. It obviously allows foreign donors as well, and it's a much bigger way. It should cause a lot of our problems. I can't wait for one Republican House or Senate member to.
So let me know your thoughts on this one. And like always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.